Monday evening, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. I am Maya Engel, live in our digital studio, and I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Maybe you got outside and took advantage of the hot weather we had, and today is a little bit cooler, and it actually feels pretty nice, especially for me. I was outside all weekend and definitely could use a little break from all of the sunshine. So let's bring in our meteorologist, Joe. And Joe, do you think this cooler weather is going to stick around a little longer into the
Who
week?
cares about that? Tell us about your golf game Sunday.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I golfed yesterday. It was my first time in probably like a month. I was a little rusty, but I did have the shot of my lifetime. I was probably like 80 yards out, chipped one in right into the hole. It was my third shot, and I just couldn't believe it. At first, I'm like, where'd my ball go? And I'm like, I'm going to check the hole just to be safe, but I doubt it's in there. Sure enough, there it was in the hole. So
I just wanted to give you a chance to,
I am pretty happy about that, so thank you.
All right. Nice job.
Thanks.
Yeah, it is cooler, to your point. That's important too, but it is cooler, Maya, than it was last week. Warm and humid last week.
Mhm.
Comfortable this week, but we do have quite a bit of rain coming in for some spots tonight. Not everyone is going to get rain tonight, but those areas that do, it could come down at a pretty good clip. We'll take a look at that and how much coming up a little later.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Joe. And we are going to start off with one of our top stories of the day. I'm sure you've heard a lot about this already. It has been a crazy day on Wall Street. Major players like the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P 500 are down hundreds of points today, and it has some economists worried about the potential for a recession. So Carter Landis is a reporter with our sister station down in Kalamazoo. He talked with some experts today who the experts are saying people do not need to worry. They say it's more of a market correction rather than a market crash. But the experts are saying people should not make any significant decisions at this time. So as I mentioned, Carter Landis with our sister station talked with these experts and has much more.
Market reports show numbers down across the board. The Dow has dropped 1,000 points as of Monday afternoon. Many others seeing sharp drops as well. This is the result of a few factors, the job market's poor showing in July and the promise of artificial intelligence being among them. Brad Hirschbein of the W.E. Upjohn Institute for Employment Research says the stock market is reacting as if there's going to be a recession, but that isn't necessarily the case yet.
For a variety of reasons, it's just taken a long period of time for the labor market to cool, and that's kind of what we wanted. We wanted it to cool a little bit gradually, inflation to come down, but the labor market to remain relatively solid.
Hirschbein says there isn't major reason to panic, even though you're seeing red numbers everywhere you look. Some people in West Michigan feel the same way. In fact, they say they're feeling opportunistic.
It's a fantastic time to buy. So the lower it goes, the better.
Concerns over 401k shares have risen as a result of the latest stock market movement. Hirschbein says not to do anything too rash as the market moves too rapidly to make any long-term decisions.
If you're relatively young and you're still several decades away, you may not want to do anything right now. This is happening relatively rapidly, but we've experienced all sorts of rapid changes in the market several times. You kind of want to wait it through.
Wheaton also says people shouldn't act too hastily, but the stock market's current position is a great time to buy.
Biggest mistake you can make if you're doing 401k at work is to stop your contributions when the market tanks. You actually want to increase your contributions when the market is tanking, because that's when you're going to buy more stocks at a cheaper price.
Again, that was Carter Landis reporting, and Hirschbein did say if you do want to make any moves that you should consult your financial advisor first if you do have one. He also says the stock market is too unpredictable to tell when it could stabilize again. Turning closer to home here in northern Michigan, we have a little more information on a first story that we first shared with you last week. So we told you about Traverse City's struggle when it comes to unlicensed vacation rentals. Our Allie Baxter did this story last week, and when she was reporting, she actually uncovered a lot more interesting details about this certain topic and this issue happening. I know not just in Traverse City, but all over northern Michigan. So many of these listings for unlicensed vacation rentals are appearing on local vacation rental property management sites. So our Allie Baxter has been digging even deeper into the issue and has an update for you now.
Properties in Traverse City being used as vacation rentals, but a lot of them don't have the licensing to do so.
We'd be happy to help if we could, but we don't have a lot of leverage.
These unlicensed properties are being managed by local vacation rental companies. I asked the city planner's office to look at the property management groups listed on Traverse City Tourism's website. They tell us there are multiple companies on the site that are managing properties not in compliance with the city.
It's a tricky thing. So we could find that there is a property we don't really believe is complying with rules, or that maybe hasn't been fair with guests, and we, have an ethical or a principled idea that they're not, in good compliance. But that's kind of irrelevant in this case. We don't really have any legal jurisdiction.
Whitney is the Chief Operating Officer at Traverse City Tourism. As she explains, they're legally bound by state legislation known as the Tourism Marketing Act.
Our services are, again, equal to all of our members, and they are dictated by that act. So we are not in the business of ensuring everyone is compliant with all other legislation and other local rules. However, we hope they all are, of course.
Any property management group with more than 10 units at this time is required to collect assessments. Those are funds that go back to the Visitors Bureau to promote tourism.
Whether they are collecting assessments or not is the only dictator of whether or not they get that actual representation on our site.
I asked Whitney if there's anything that would lead to a company being removed from their website.
If they stopped paying assessments, that might be the one place where we could say, okay, you're going to be removed from the site, but that is a large legal situation that we try to avoid as best we can.
The way Whitney sees it, Traverse City Tourism shouldn't have to police these companies because Traverse City Tourism doesn't have the legal jurisdiction to do so.
We can encourage good behavior and we can encourage great participation, and that's the best we can do in this case.
I asked Whitney if the legislation could possibly be changed to give them more freedom.
If there were amendments made, the Act dictates that we provide a standard service to everybody, and we want to be sure that we are representing everybody equally as best we can.
And today's question of the day is related to this story, so I'm going to pull that up right now. Do you think unregistered summer vacation rentals are an issue in northern Michigan? As of right now, 75% of people say yes, 25% say no. As always, you can scan that QR code on your screen right now to vote. You can also leave a comment on this live stream or go to our Facebook page and leave a comment. But I'm going to bring Allie into the conversation now to just get a little more information on this continuing story. So Allie, my first thought when I saw your story was, are there no policies for these actual vacation rental companies to make sure that the places that are being listed are listed legally? For example, like, can Airbnb go in and look and say, like, oh, well, this place doesn't have the authority to have a rental here? Or is it only up to like each city?
I think there's potentially, like, in different states, there may be different legislation where, Airbnb, Vrbo has to accommodate those things. But as far as I know, and that was actually something I was talking about with one of our lawmakers today, is it would be really great if Airbnb, Vrbo, any of these, Booking.com, any of these sites actually required some kind of verification that you are operating, because essentially what a short-term rental, a vacation rental is, it's a business. That's why we only see them in commercially licensed districts. And so what they want is, that licensing to make sure that you're operating it really safely, because, the fire marshal has to come in, and if you aren't doing these things, if you aren't getting licensed, you're not proving that you're licensed, you're honestly putting your guest in a lot of jeopardy.
So you said you talked with John Roth today. Is there anything that he or any other lawmakers are doing to try to fix this problem?
So in the past, I talked with Representative Roth today because he was super familiar with this act. And I just kind of asked him some questions about, I kind of explained the situation to him, and I said, so, what is the solution here? So one of those things that he had mentioned, what we just talked about, is, hey, Airbnbs, Vrbos, it would be really great if they required some kind of, hey, is your property licensed or not? He said another thing that he doesn't totally want to lean towards is, hey, maybe it'll be better if there's a lot more, uniformity with short-term rentals by having some kind of state oversight. But what you're doing when you're having state oversight is you're taking the local control away from, our different municipalities. So say, Lansing is then determining what Traverse City, like what amount of short-term rentals and stuff that would be able to operate here. And really, these jurisdictions, we know our short-term rental market the best So he said he'd rather it stay with that local control. But if you really want a lot of enforcement with it, he said it might end up having to be a state oversight thing to get that level of enforcement.
And do you know how many of the different rental properties that are, for example, I know you talked with the COO of Traverse City Tourism. Out of all the different rental properties that are listed on their website, do you have an estimate of like how many are unlicensed?
I don't know about individual properties, but something that I had the city planner's office look into is the different companies in general that are listed on their website. And so what the city planner's office did is they got back to me and said, hey, yeah, we've had issues with this company, this company, this company, and this company, as it refers to they have properties currently on their website, like that management company's website, that aren't in compliance with our city rules, and we have tried to reach out to them and they're still not in compliance.
So at that point, like what can the city do?
Exactly. That's kind of like what we've discovered here is, you know, Traverse City Tourism has these advertised, but they've told us, we can't do anything because if we do something, we'll be in legal violation. And it's kind of the same thing within the city. They're kind of stuck as well. So that was why we turned to lawmakers today to say, okay, what is the solution? And there doesn't really seem to be one right now. It kind of seems like everyone's kind of stuck, and really the thing that's needed right now is enforcement in general. But enforcement is really difficult to do, as we learned kind of from part one of this story last week. It's really hard to constantly keep up. And something that the city planner, Sean Winter, had told me is actually every summer when they get an intern, this is primarily what the intern does. That intern sits there and they go back and forth and they try to, compare and contrast to see if there are any Airbnb, short-term rentals, vacation rentals operating not legally within certain areas of the city where they're not supposed to be.
So really the intern is just like dedicated to that one specific job.
It was actually the intern that was able to get me some of those answers. It was the intern who looked through Traverse City Tourism's website, looked at the different companies and looked at their data, looked at the city's data and said, yeah, these are the different companies that we've had issues that some of their properties are not licensed.
Anything else you want to say about this update, Allie?
I would say something that I thought was super interesting when talking to Representative Roth today. We had the conversation of it always seems like, from your bias of living in a certain area that, maybe the short-term rental situation is worse in your area. But he really put things in perspective for me today as, he's campaigning right now. And so he's going door knocking, meeting with different constituents just across his area. And he mentioned being actually in Frankfurt recently, and almost every single door that he knocked on, that person didn't actually live there. It was an Airbnb person. So he said this obviously isn't exclusive to Traverse City, like we were talking about earlier in our conversation. It's all across northern Michigan, but he specifically highlighted it's, a really big issue in Frankfurt. He said Bel Air as well. He's starting to hear some stuff of just a lot of short-term rentals popping up. But I would say that is something that I want people to know, is I thought it was kind of interesting of someone who is actually going around and knocking on doors and trying to make connections with people. He had interesting insight about if there's actually full-time residents there.
Right. Definitely puts things into perspective a little bit more. Well, thanks so much, Allie, for joining us on Unscripted. And we have to take a short break, but I'm going to keep our question of the day up on the screen with the QR code. So if you are watching online, you can scan that and vote during the commercial. And when we come back in just a few minutes, we are going to touch base with Joe for more on your forecast. So stick around. We'll be right back. Boy, do we have exciting news for you on this Monday evening. If you tuned in last week, you didn't see Joe's face. And I know we were all really, really sad about this, but guess what? He's back. We get to
You're the
see his
worst.
face tonight.
You are the worst. Yeah, Jeff fixed the camera.
Yay.
Yeah. It's quiet right now, Maya, but I'll tell you what, your car is going to get a free wash tonight.
Ooh, I'll take it. It's due. It needs
Yeah,
one.
mine needs one too.
Yep.
We do have some rain on the way. We'll talk about that in a moment. But before we do, I want to go down to the south. That's Jacksonville, Florida, where it's 79. You can see the camera shaking around there. That is because of what's now Tropical Storm Debbie, bringing a lot of rain to that area. The wind, it's not that bad there, 23 miles per hour sustained. But here's the last 24 hours, the track on Debbie. Let's just start with that. It made landfall there in the Big Bend of Florida there, they call it, earlier today, and as a Category 1 hurricane. It is now weakened, and here's the latest on this. Debbie, now a tropical storm, it has weakened, and it's 30 miles southeast now of Valdosta, Georgia. The issue now isn't so much the wind, it's the amount of rain that's going to fall. You can see this is no hurry to move along through Thursday. It's just going to kind of slowly meander over southern Georgia into parts of South Carolina and bring maybe a half a foot to a foot of rain. If we get a foot of snow, that's a lot here in northern Michigan. Can you imagine that in rain? So they're looking at some big-time flooding down there. We have some rain on the way in for us, too. Here's a look at that. You can see this area of rain, that red box there in Iowa. That is in Minnesota, Wisconsin. That's a tornado watch. We're not going to get any severe weather. We might not even get any thunder here, but we are going to see rain. It's kind of riding along this area of low pressure there in Iowa. And this is what this looks like now as we move forward. So we'll kind of run this out. Rain increasing. There's going to be a very sharp cutoff, though, to the rain. If you're up around Sheboygan, Newberry, Sault Ste. Marie, you might not get much rain at all, if any. While Cadillac, right here, look at this rain late tonight, early tomorrow morning. It's going to be a wet start to the morning down that way. So there's 6:30. Then tomorrow, rain south. It'll be a wet morning. And then by noon, most of the rain will be over with. And then we get into some sunshine for the afternoon and evening. So you see that. So rain early south. Sunshine in the afternoon, and then we'll see a nice day coming up on Wednesday. Easier way to look at this, just here's the rain totals. And again, Manistee, Cadillac, maybe up to 1.5 inches of rain, but you get up around Petoskey, Rogers City North, nothing. Just a couple drops at best up that way. One more thing, the Northwestern Michigan Fair, that's in Grand Traverse County. Tomorrow, 77, morning rain, then some afternoon sunshine. Tomorrow, better the second half of the day. In the extended forecast, not as warm as last week. We'll stay in the 70s. Our next system after tonight or tomorrow morning rolls in, it looks like on Friday into Saturday, Maya. We do have the chance for some rain and a few showers. That might impact your weekend plans. There's the chance for a little bit of rain at that time. So a little cooler this week, and yeah, maybe a little bit of rain as we head toward the weekend.
But after that hot weekend, I'm sure a lot of people are maybe ready for some cooler temperatures.
Yeah, it's at least more
rain.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. Thanks so much, Joe. We are going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we will check in with Harrison Beebe to see what he is up to today. Stick around. You're watching Up North Live Unscripted. Welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted. Let's bring in Harrison now, see what he's working on for sports tonight. Hey, Harrison, how's it going?
I'm good, Maya. How about yourself?
I'm great. Yeah, I'm good.
Well, Maya, I don't know if I'm really working on this, but I definitely have a good perspective. We talked earlier in the newsroom. We were thinking of getting a group from the station to go to the ball game this weekend for the Tigers. And it was Jim Leland's big retirement ceremony, and the Tigers had a huge walk-off hit to beat the Royals. Pretty cool event. Plans fell through. We didn't end up going down, but I know someone who was there.
Oh, yeah?
Trash man Ryan was
Ryan.
there. I was there. Ryan, give us the review. What was your favorite part of Saturday?
Okay, so it was really cool seeing the ceremony. I may or may not have cried. Who knows? But the walk-off, incredible. That's the second time I've seen us walk off against the Royals. Not that deep into extras, though. That was awesome. Half my group left, and I was like, nah, man, I'm staying. I'm watching us win this game, and we did. That Parker Meadows catch, awesome.
Do you think Jim Leland was there for the walk-off, too, or did he go
He might have
start hitting up the establishments? Yeah.
He was smoking heaters. He was. I saw him doing
Nobody's
that.
shocked by that.
I saw him doing that.
Classic Jim Leland.
Yeah, great game.
How emotional was it to see the number get retired in the outfield like that?
It was awesome. I saw it happen for Whitaker a couple years ago, but for it being somebody who was there during my time, it was even better. So especially somebody like Jim Leland, as much as I love those teams from when I was growing up. So he's my favorite.
Yeah, it's just him and Sparky, correct, for managers that had the numbers retired?
Yes.
Okay, so that's rarefied air. The last 3 World Series were with those 2 managers. So World Series appearances, obviously, Leland unfortunately didn't win one with the Tigers. But, hey, if they hadn't had that week off in either of those years, who knows what would have happened. But can't woulda, coulda, shoulda that.
Do you have regrets that we didn't go to the game?
I don't know, Maya, do you?
Yeah, I wish we would have. Yeah, definitely. But at least Ryan got to go and got to share his experience with us.
That's pretty unique. Yep. And are you running out of time, or?
We got about 10 seconds. What else you got?
All right, we're back at the Pit Spitters. They're in their final week, final 2 home games tonight and tomorrow, and they're a game back of Kalamazoo for the final playoff spot. So a lot of drama here in the final week of the season.
So an important one. And you'll have the final results tonight on Up North Live News at 11. So we will see you then, Harrison. But we're going to take another quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Let's take one last look at our question of the day. Do you think unregistered summer vacation rentals are an issue in northern Michigan? 75% of people say yes, 25% say no. In case you missed Ali's story on this topic earlier, it is on our website, UpNorthLive.com. But that'll do it today for Up North Live Unscripted. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope your week is off to a great start, and we'll see you back here tonight on Up North Live News at 11. Take care.